Here is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty, your fans welcome you back, man.
First of all, I would like to thank the many fans throughout this country that wrote cards and letters to Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, while I was down. And Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, with that weight, got what I wanted. Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves in the first place. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers around this country are out of work and got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them go home. And hard times are when a man has worked at a job 30 years. 30 years. They give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard time. That's hard time. Nature Boy Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight title belongs to these people. I'm gonna reach out right now. I want you at home to know my hand is touching your hand for this gathering of the biggest body of people in this country, in this universe, all over the world now. Reach it out, because the love that was given me, and this time I will repay you now, because I will be the next world's heavyweight champion on this hard time blues. Let me leave you with this. One way to hurt Ric Flair is to take what he cherishes more than anything in the world. That's the world's heavyweight title. I'm gonna take it. I've been there twice. This time when I take it, Daddy, I'm gonna take it for you. Let's gather for it. Don't let me down now, because I came back for you, for that man up there that died 10, 12 years ago and never got the opportunity to see a real world champion. And I'm proud of you, and thank God I have you. And I love you.
Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, proud to lead you through these hard times. With the WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 2 Instant Analysis Edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here just moments after the second night of WWE WrestleMania 40 concluded. Folks, the story has been finished and the plane has been landed. The Silver King will be joined soon by vintage Chris Vanini, who was live in Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40, and we will be breaking down every single thing that happened on Sunday night. We'll discuss somewhat how it related to Saturday, and we are going to go through pretty much everything that happened this weekend at WrestleMania. Before we get into all of that, allow me to remind you off the top that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King for Vintage for the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. And folks, it is WrestleMania week. We've been pumping the audio into your ear holes, the performance-enhancing audio into your ear holes. Please leave that 5-star rating and review for us on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Getting Overcast for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can DM and tweet us questions and comments there. You can also get to vote in our pre and post show polls, including the 6 that we posted across WrestleMania weekend. Please also remember,
I happen to love the number
5.
And I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. You get bonus audio, instant reactions to Raw, NXT Dynamite, and SmackDown every week, along with exclusive news posts. All of that at buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. We are going to quickly move into the instant analysis. Before we do, I just want to remind everyone about that audio that is in our podcast feed, waiting for those ear holes if you have not listened to it already. We already have your WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 1 instant analysis and your NXT Stand and Deliver instant analysis. So make sure you listen to those shows this week if you have not already. And we will be back Tuesday afternoon with your next WWE show covering the Raw after WrestleMania, the WWE Hall of Fame, and a ton of other stuff from WrestleMania weekend. With all of that said, allow me to welcome in vintage Chris Vanini, who is in his rental car driving back to the hotel from Lincoln Financial Field. We're going to get into that WWE WrestleMania 40 instant analysis in a moment. But Chris, give me an overall perspective of Sunday night in Philly.
Oh my God, man. That was freaking nuts. That was the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Just unbelievable. Greatest WrestleMania main event of all time, I think. Sunday, obviously, we'll get into it better than Saturday for a lot of reasons, but so much fun. So happy for Cody and everything else. And man, they did it. They landed the plane, and it was unfreaking believable.
Let's discuss all of that right now as we move into your WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 2 instant analysis. For any first-time listeners, we're going to break down every single match on the card. We're going to, of course, give our analysis of it, some grades for the matches, and at the end, we will give a grade for WrestleMania 40 Night 2 as well as WrestleMania in its totality. And we have a ton of extra news items and additional things from WrestleMania that we're going to discuss. We're saving all of that for the end of this instant analysis after we cover the grade, so be sure to stick around for all of that. Chris, let's get started where WrestleMania 40 ended. The undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns defending against Cody Rhodes in a Bloodline Rules match. Now, Paul Heyman backstage mocked Kayla Braxton's question about what Bloodline Rules is. He basically said, hey, it's anything goes. Cody's entrance was epic. They had fire-burned American Nightmare flags. He emerged from the Cody Vader in a Nightmare skull mask with wings, gold wings. Brandy was by his side. She got a pop. It was an epic entrance. The height of the Cody experience. Reigns got a live orchestra and choir. Production did miss the pyro cue, but it was incredible in its own right. I would say both of them individually and together were among the best WrestleMania entrances of all time. Michael Cole's rundown of Roman's epic reign, it only added to the gravitas of the moment. It did legitimately feel like when that bell rang, it was endgame. And Cole set the stage perfectly. He said, it's the 9th inning for Cody Rhodes. It is a must win. If he does not get the job done, he will never get another opportunity. The match started at 10 p.m. on the dot, and the crowd went wild at the bell. Cody brought out a table early. Roman slid it back under the ring to jeers. Rhodes got the figure 4 in early with an eye rake escape. Deep in the crowd, Cody counter suplexed Roman onto a platform. Inside, Reigns countered disaster kick with a midair powerbomb. He choked him over the bottom rope, screaming, "This is my company, you little bitch." Reigns pulled out a perfect plex. They traded boots, super kicks, and strikes. Cody hit disaster kick. Roman caught him off the ropes with crossroads for a near fall. Reigns said, this move is trash. It's not going to beat anyone. He just likes kicking Cody's ass, so that's why he wanted to do it. Fire stuff from him. Rhodes dodged Superman punch and hit a bionic elbow sequence. He cleared off the announce table, but got an uppercut low blow, and he power bombed through the table. Reigns power bombed him through the table. Superman punch was for a near fall. Cody countered a spear with a kick and a Cody cutter for a 2.8. Reigns countered crossroads. Cody countered rock bottom and hit a spear for a false finish. And this is now 20 minutes into the match. Cody hit crossroads only to get super kicked by Jimmy Uso. Roman hit a Superman punch. Jay got a full entrance attacking his brother on the ramp and spearing him off the stage through 2 tables. And it sounds like that's normal, but it was a super high stage. Reigns hit a jump spear off of a roll-up for a 2.9 false finish. Rhodes speared Reigns through the barricade, then banged the canvas and hit Crossroads twice. He looked around to see if the coast was clear. Solo Sikoa was over the opposite shoulder this time, hit him with the Samoan spike, dragged Roman on top of his body for a 2.9 false finish. Solo starts beating Cody and screaming at Roman. They end up hitting a combo spike spear, their tag team finisher that was established months ago, for a 2.9 false finish. John fucking Cena storms down. Attitude adjustment on Reigns inside and Sikoa through a table. The Rock comes down. Holy shit chant. He and Cena stare off from each other. Cena does "you can't see me" right in his face. Rock immediately goes underneath that arm, hits a rock bottom, removes the weight belt. He's ready to beat the shit out of Cody. All of a sudden, Sierra, Hotel, India, Echo, Delta, the Shield entrance. Seth Rollins comes out of the crowd in the old gear with a chair. Immediately, he tries to take out The Rock. Reigns hits him with the Superman punch, knocks him out. Rock readies to use the belt on Cody. The Undertaker gong. I screamed on my couch. Lights go out. He appeared behind Rock in the ring, furious at him. Immediately hit a choke slam. Lights out. Taker gone. Rock gone. Chair and belt left in the ring. Rollins starts standing up. Reigns picks up the chair, looks at both guys, smacks Rollins in the back for payback. Rhodes counters a spear with a kick, hits 2 crossroads, powers himself back up, hits a 3rd crossroads for the 1-2-3 to finish the story. And he wins the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in 33 minutes. You could hear Samantha Irvin crying through the ring announcement. We posted the video. Go watch it. Reigns was actually smiling while he was being pinned. I lost it myself. Let me get this out of the way. I already said it. Chris already said it. The plane was landed. The story was finished. This was everything you could have wanted and more. 5 stars plus. A++, it's the highest I go. It was probably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Perfection achieved. Brandy runs in for a kiss. Cody looks up to the sky for Dusty, holds up the title on the top rope at the appropriate part of the song. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, LA Knight, plus Jay and Cena all help him celebrate. Jay and Sami put Cody on their shoulders. I believe I had that. CM Punk comes out. Mama Rhodes comes in. The rest of the family's there. Michael Cole exclaims, "Damn it, I love professional wrestling." Cody then got on his knees and handed the title to his mom. Everyone continues celebrating. Cody grabs the mic after the bell and said, "We have started a brand new era in WWE." He demanded that Bruce Pritchard and Triple H come to the ring. Paul Levesque shook his hand. It was a moment, and they had an extended hug where Paul said something immensely sentimental to him. You could just tell by the looks on their faces, and they held that hug for a long time. Randy and Sami then lifted Cody on their shoulders again. Rhodes went outside the ring to hug Michael Cole. He leaned out of the ring and shook Seth Rollins' hand. Seth pointed at him saying, "It's your time now." I realized at this point he had the blonde streak in his hair, which was pretty cool. Triple H said something else, and Cody posed once more with a ton of pyro going off. Then he hugged cameramen and everyone ringside. And lastly, Nick Khan's family. I've never seen Nick Khan smile in his entire life, and he did not smile here either. And commentary as WrestleMania went off the air said, "Pro wrestling is back."
Saw him in a Hall of Fame speech where I knew that he was going to be a star. He had star written all over him. I went through internet shows with him. I had a damn tag team championship match with him. He left here disgruntled, heartbroken, to go create his own story. And Cody Rhodes came back here as a superstar. Cody Rhodes came back here and did something that his father, one of the greatest of all time, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, could never accomplish. Cody Rhodes came back here and won the WWE Championship. Damn it, I love professional wrestling.
Just an incredible call from Michael Cole. I'm going to speak for you, Chris, when I say this was everything we wanted and more. And yeah, I teared up a little bit hearing him say that. Impressive how they figured out a way to do the Avengers Endgame finish, yet not have it be a total cluster because they achieved it in segments. I was shocked that it was Taker instead of Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was clearly a spot made for him. But don't forget, Reigns over Taker was the genesis of the Tribal Chief, and Taker is the final boss of WWE in WrestleMania. Samantha Irvin, rock star. Charles Robinson, referee, legend. The actual wrestling of this match on its own was 5 stars. All of the counters, all of the immense elements, the Crossroads interference callbacks. Reigns basically lost the match because he was blinded by hatred and decided to hit Rollins with the chair instead of Rhodes. He was unable to let that hurt go. That's real shit right there, dating back to what he felt was the original sin in his career. Forced him to go tunnel vision, and clearly that was planned in kayfabe. And yes, it did delay long enough when that Shield music hit that I thought for 5 seconds, did they actually work something out to get Jon Moxley there? But of course, that was not the case. And yes, I said it. It was Avengers Endgame in every sense. Every element of it. It felt like it right off the bat. Then the portals opened, one after another, saving Cody. Jay and Jimmy was better here in 30 seconds than their entire match. That spear off the stage was insane. And then Rock standing there looking like it was over. Thanos. Doctor Strange holds up that one finger. Boom. Undertaker. Rollins coming back as Shield, which almost cost The Rock the title at the 2013 Royal Rumble. Obviously directly related to Reigns because he was part of the group. Showing his back to Reigns on purpose. Sacrificing himself like he was Iron Man. Rollins with some genius long-term psychology there. He fell the same way on the chair shot. Don't forget, he told Cody he would be his Shield. And that was literally the role he played here. He sacrificed his title and himself to make sure Reigns lost and Rhodes won. I love the hater shit WWE is doing across the board. I was legitimately, no exaggeration, nervous and jittery when the bell rang. I haven't felt that way about professional wrestling in a long, long time, probably since I was a kid. And it paid off in every possible way. I know I just said a lot of words, so this doesn't make much sense what I'm about to say, but I'm kind of at a loss for how perfectly this was executed. Kudos to Reigns, kudos to Cody, kudos to Paul Levesque, an all-time match and an all-time WrestleMania. It felt like a series finale that was simultaneously kicking off a spinoff. It was unbelievable. Chris, your thoughts?
What the hell am I supposed to say after that? I thought we were gonna go. I thought we were gonna go into like segments here, and instead we just had the whole thing happen.
I'm trying to give Paul Heyman a run for his money. I'm doing the best I can. Okay.
I got a lot to talk about a lot of the things that you already mentioned. So, look, this is why we like professional wrestling. You can talk about moves, you can talk about 5 stars, yada yada. It's the connection that you have with the people involved. Mm-hmm. And that's everything that this did. You actually pointed out several things that I didn't even make the connections on. Undertaker, Reigns, their history, the line when Seth said, Cody, I'll be your Shield. And then that's why he came out as the Shield guy. Like, oh, it didn't really make sense to me in the moment exactly. Oh, there you go. That's exactly what it is. Perfect sense right there. And so, like, every step of this was incredible. Go back to the entrance music. Awesome. I was stressed in that stadium. Like, you could feel the buzz and the nervousness from everybody. It felt like we were about to kick off like a national championship football game. Like, I've been in a stadium when that happens, and there's just, you can feel it. Everybody's like, we just got all amped up like, holy crap, like this is going to be the thing. We're finally here and doing this. And it was a lot more Cody Roman to start than I expected. I was wondering, look, we had so much Cody Roman night one. Are we just going to get straight into shenanigans? And it's not how it played out. I thought we might have 5 people beating down Cody and they came out one by one. It didn't happen that way. But I like the way it happened, one after another after another. Yes, I thought it was going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Everybody thought it was. When it was just after the Cena bit, the crowd around me is chanting Austin, Austin. So like they expected that. So then when the gong hit, everybody was stunned. Like it wasn't the thing we expected. So that's why he got such a huge pop for that. Curious why it wasn't Austin. I don't know if we'll ever have an answer or whatnot. I know
I have a
Easter egg
theory. If you want me to jump in, I can give you a theory. Stone Cold Steve Austin has said this previously, not about this exact situation, but he's always cognizant when he comes back that he doesn't want to overshadow anyone or anything. And I think despite Undertaker being final boss of WWE historically, I don't want to say Mr. WrestleMania because that's Shawn Michaels' title, but like the WrestleMania guy, that glass shattering and Austin storming down there, the headline would have been Stone Cold Steve Austin returns to WWE, helps Cody Rhodes, as opposed to Cody Rhodes beats Roman Reigns for the title. Oh, and by the way, The Undertaker helped him. That's how big of a star Austin is. I don't know anything.
That is true.
That's just a guess.
True. It's not going to say, the headlines probably aren't going to say Undertaker returns and Cody wins. You are right.
But if it was Austin, it might have.
Because Steve Austin is the bigger star,
as
much as some people don't think so for some reason.
Exactly. Go ahead.
But man, like, I just think about how much Austin, I mean, they all loved him, but Austin loved Dusty, man. Like they were very much a thing. So I guess I'm just kind of surprised. Not a big deal ultimately, because The Undertaker was a surprise. And what do we love about pro wrestling? We love surprises. So like that totally works.
Did you scream? I screamed. I was sitting on my couch. I don't do this when I watch wrestling. I screamed when the gong hit.
I took a video. I recorded on my phone, like off to the side while the whole stuff was finishing at the end. I haven't gone back and watched it, but I remember being like, what? And all that kind of stuff and people going nuts. And it was great, man. I'm going to say this. I know you completely disagree. Did not like Samantha Irvin's call of the moment. I understand she was overcome with emotion.
Get off the show.
But like that is literally the moment when you're supposed to hit your call. Whatever. It is what it is. We don't need to do it. I don't want to shit on her too much. It's just my personal opinion on that. I didn't hear all the stuff you played there at the end. I didn't hear that. The Cole comments, none of that, because Cody wins and people come in the ring and they're celebrating, and we had to get out of there and get down to the press conference. So I didn't see a lot of that stuff that happened at the end. I did see him hugging Triple H, but that was about it. I still haven't seen it. I got to go back and watch it. But that's awesome from Michael Cole, man. That was an unbelievable way. First off, the way he called the pin, finished the story, whatever, like awesome call. And then to just all that stuff about I love professional wrestling. Incredible. Also, side note, very, very, very clear. We are getting out of the word sports entertainment under Triple H. We are going back to pro wrestling. That has been made very clear in that moment, I think does as well. And shoot, man, when Cody called out Pritchard and Triple H, I was like, are we going to end Cody's moment by celebrating Triple H? I thought that was going to be really, really weird, but they didn't. They made it about Cody. They established him as the new face of the company. And man, what a freaking moment. Again, just one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. Crowd was just nuts for all of that. And we just all went on a ride, man. It was great.
I truly hope, and I'm sure you did, and I'm sure everyone there did. I hope you felt in that moment, anyone who was there, the way I felt sitting in the crowd for Kofi Mania. Because that's the most emotional I've probably ever been at a sporting event. I'm thinking through my life. I saw my Florida Gators win a national championship. That was special. Kofi Mania was just something else. And what happened with Cody tonight, I just hope people got that same feeling. And it seemed like that was the case. I can't wait for them to do the extra footage of WrestleMania 40. And we see like more shots of the crowd and more reactions, and they fine tune everything and they put it together in a really nice package. I want to go back to a couple things you said. Number one, great that we got so much Cody versus Roman. I was also worried, like, we're going to get 10 minutes of it and they're just going to go to all the interferences. We got more than 20 minutes of just them, which is what it needed to be. This was a match for the WWE Championship. Let's not get that twisted. And we got to see a match for the WWE Championship, and then we got shenanigans. I would have loved if we actually got a couple extra minutes of Cody Roman after the Rollins chair shot, but I understand what they did and why they did it. To your Samantha Irvin comment, it's your worst take in the history of this show, even worse than Yellow Gatorade. Truly terrible. And I'm saying this, I recognize that Chris is walking up to his hotel room and he can't really answer me right now. He'll have a chance later in the show, I promise.
I can hear you. I'm listening. I'm in the parking lot. I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I'll let you go.
It's the worst take you've had in the history of the show. We will talk more about Samantha later because I do actually have a lot to say about her before the end of the show. But this is one of those moments where we actually haven't spoken that long about it. We've spent a lot more time on a lot less important things. But it was so perfect. We've spent so much time on this podcast telling you the way this needed to end and what we expected to happen and what we wanted to happen. And really outside of the Stone Cold Steve Austin element, and I think The Undertaker is just as good, or if you want to really argue about it, 90% as good. That was literally the only difference between what we expected and wanted to happen and what actually happened. And if you told me that you showed me this plan and you said, this is what you're going to get, what do you think? I was going to be like, you're not going to execute that well. It's going to be impossible to do that. And yet it was nearly flawless. Putting that match aside just for a moment, we need to talk about this epic run of Roman Reigns. 1,316 days, the fourth longest championship reign in WWE history, the longest in 40 years. You have frustrations over the last year because of his absences and the lack of title defenses. So did we. But in totality, it's probably the greatest reign of our lifetimes in any organization, one of the most compelling characters of all time, one of the greatest heels of all time. He put on bangers when bangers were needed. He did storytelling when storytelling was needed. He did character work when character work was needed during the pandemic. He changed the way that we think about wrestling and storytelling and characters. And it's not just him. It's Paul Heyman as well. He deserves equal credit. This run deserves a deeper dive than we have time to give right now. But it was an incredible journey over the last 4 years. He wrote himself into the history books, leading the greatest storyline period in professional wrestling history. Whatever debate existed out there, you want to give me your mega powers explode, as Biggie would say, bump that. If Roman Reigns wants to wrestle 4 times a year and work TV 16 times a year, fine, especially if he's not champion. And I loved how WrestleMania ended, despite it being Cody Rhodes' moment. It ended with 3 potential storylines for Reigns. Revenge on Rhodes, obviously. The Rollins one-on-one feud that we truly need. And obviously The Rock hanging out there. Don't get it twisted. Roman's reign was key to the resurrection of WWE. Cody's going to carry it going forward. He's taking the ball and running with it. Roman is what got this started. And he deserves a field of flowers for what he was able to accomplish over the last 4 years, which, by the way, included the most difficult period in the history of the sport. Trying to do professional wrestling without fans should be impossible. And let's not forget, all of this came from one of the most hated people in the company because they shoved him down our throats as a babyface. What an incredible run. What an incredible career turnaround.
Roman has been incredible through all of this. And I know a lot of people like to say, oh, he only has to wrestle 4 or 5 times a year. That's not how this started. You got to go back to where the tribal chief began. Pandemic. He takes the title off of Bray Wyatt and eventually gets into a storyline with Jey Uso. He's working heel for the first time, and there are no fans there. You know how hard that is?
It's impossible.
I mean, that is ridiculous. And he was the one who adapted by doing all the trash talking in the ring. The I Quit match. I think it was the I Quit match in the Hell in a Cell or something like that. And
we got to see that tonight. It came back tonight. He kind of went away from it a little bit.
Yeah, he created this character at a very, very difficult time. And yes, pro wrestling's not real. He didn't actually defeat people to hold the title for 1,300 days, but he set himself up where the company for a while couldn't afford, but it would have been bad business to take the title off of him because it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he was doing a really good job with it to the point where they didn't need him to work it as much, partly because they did such a good job developing so many bigger baby faces and other wrestlers around it. Drew got re-elevated by being part of this. Jey Uso became a main eventer. Cesaro had a main event shot. LA Knight had a main event shot. Like Edge was there.
Logan Paul had a main event shot.
Logan Paul got a main event shot. Like for there was a period for the first year or so of Roman's reign where we said, is he elevating any baby faces? Does he have any defining feuds throughout this reign? And it wasn't really the case. But over the last year and a half, 2 years of it, they really, really did. And everybody is better for Roman having had that long of a title reign. And he deserves all the credit in the world. Like, it really is. You think, oh, you only wrestle a couple times a year. How hard can it be? Do you know how hard it is to make people care about you when you only wrestle 4 or 5 times, 6 times a year? Like, that's hard. You don't have that many opportunities. You have to be perfect every single time you're out there. And Roman was. And so that is why Triple H and everybody will talk about just how truly impressive this was and how important he was to ushering WWE into this record level of business success and bringing pro wrestling back and all that stuff. He deserves as much credit as anybody.
Yeah, he completely does. And look, we're going to get the inevitable question. So let's just answer it before it's asked. Was all of this worth it for the last year? The answer is yes. It was worth Cody losing at WrestleMania 39. It was worth that horrendous Raw after WrestleMania that didn't necessarily have to do with that, but certainly, had to do with it to a degree. It was worth the year of Reigns barely defending the title, let alone showing up on TV. It was worth getting angry about The Rock and making our voices heard. Every single bit of the last year was worth getting this match in this moment, Chris. Paul Levesque was right. End of story.
Yes, it was a year ago this time when Triple H said we wouldn't have made the decision if we didn't think something better was coming. Now, we said this on the preview. Did they kind of luck into that? Possibly.
The pivot with The Rock made it better than it ever would have been. Right. But it doesn't mean that otherwise waiting was the wrong decision.
Correct. When Cody won the second Rumble, I tweeted at that time, I said, all right, we made it back here and Cody's still really hot. They got 2 months to really ramp this thing up and it will be good. And then the Rock thing happened right away in that whole spot. So we never had, we can't compare it to, we had such a great Roman Cody story and then The Rock came in. We never started it back up barely. It just, The Rock happened. So it's hard to say. You can't say it would have or wouldn't have worked, but obviously The Rock coming back made the whole thing much better. And yeah, now can say it was worth it, especially because I got to be there for it.
Well, that certainly helped. We also, on this podcast, let's not forget, in this exact show, the WWE WrestleMania 39 Night 2 Instant Analysis, everyone was freaking out. When Roman beat Cody, WWE screwed up. It's going to be terrible, so on and so forth. And we said in that show, just as we have so many times on this podcast, we will judge this when the story comes to an end. Because what Triple H has done, what Paul Levesque was in the process of doing at that time, was earning back our trust and proving that they were telling long-term stories that resulted in satisfying conclusions. And we said a year ago on this show, when or if we get back to this spot and Roman loses the title and or Cody wins the title, that is when we'll be able to make our judgment. That has now happened. And we did make our judgment. Now, we're not going to have a lot of time on this episode to go through a lot of the stuff from the press conference. In fact, there's a lot of stuff from Saturday and Sunday press conferences that I do want to talk about. And I don't necessarily know that we're even going to be able to do it on Tuesday because I'm traveling. There's a lot of things happening. I'll do my best to include it in Tuesday's show. Maybe we'll do a special show later in the week and get to it. But Cody did say a couple really interesting things in his press conference that I quickly wanted to mention before we move on. He said that he hopes he can be half the champion Reigns was. Obviously putting Roman over huge. He called this a win for the people. There were tears in his eyes throughout the entire press conference. I should know, by the way, Chris was sitting there for the entire thing. He said Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, and Nick Khan gave him a gold Rolex, the same one his dad had that he pawned to put Cody through acting school. And I figured, well, Rolex, they make standard models of watch, so that's pretty easy to just acquire a watch that was the same model. Triple H later confirmed it was the exact same watch. They literally tracked it down. Now, that's not impossible because Rolexes get bills of sale and they have serial numbers and they do get tracked. But still, wow. He also said, what would he say to his dad? And this was like the last line of the entire press conference. He said, quote, "I hope I lived up to the name and sorry for the tattoo," which popped me. I thought that was hysterical. Now, Chris did ask a question of Cody during this press conference. Unlike last night, we don't have the audio. We will get it for you by Tuesday. But Chris, what generally was your question and what was generally his response?
Well, first off, let me go back to the watch thing. Cody mentioned the watch thing in his Peacock documentary. I rewatched that as I was preparing for my interview with Cody last week. And my original lead to the story that I wrote was the watch. It was the whole story around the watch and everything about that and what it meant and him giving it to Cody. I scrapped it and I changed the lead of the story. I ended up making it the lead to the story tonight for tomorrow. As a result, I ended up saving it for that. And I was going to ask about the Rolex, and then someone else said something. He brought it up on his own, and he's holding it there. I was like, oh man, it's incredible. So I was going to ask about the watch, but he already answered it. So then I asked what it would mean to what it meant to give it to his mom. And he said some things. He said some things that he told me on Saturday as well. He says his mom doesn't watch the show. She goes to bed early. She was in the interview room and she goes, "That's not true." and
I did hear people laugh. I didn't know why they laughed.
Yeah, that's what happened. Mama Rhodes was there in the back and she goes, like, "That's not true." So I think he was trying to kayfabe everybody. But Cody had told me that same thing on Saturday, that that his mom doesn't watch it and whatever. And I had asked him on last week, what would it mean if what would it mean to have the belt and just what would it mean to your family? And he starts talking about, if I saw my dad again, if I had a dream again, I think he would disagree with so many of the decisions that I made. He didn't like me in tights. and he said he would have hated the neck tattoo because he always thought I looked like a movie star, and that I shouldn't have done that. And I think I ended up taking it out of the story again. So then to hear it on Sunday was it kind of all came back around, which was just really, really cool. I don't know if the watch, I honestly doubt that it's the real same watch.
I don't doubt it. I got to be honest with you.
I was chatting with WWE PR afterward. Triple H had left, and they were like, "Yeah, I don't know. We don't really know the whole deal behind it." And you're right. We don't need to get into the whole thing. I understand the whole deal with Rolexes and keeping track of it. It's also possible the whole watch story is a work in itself. That Cody just kind of does this sometimes. So
I don't think they would blatantly lie about them gifting him a watch. It's clearly a gold Rolex that he has not worn before. I mean,
yeah.
And by the way, he just bought like the platinum or silver, whatever color they are, Rolexes for everyone else. For him to go and wear a different one.
And Steph.
Yeah. Well, no, it was more. I think he got it also for Roman and Rock and Triple H and others. But for him to then not wear that watch, the commemorative one that he purposely just bought, clearly they gave this to him as a gift. So I don't think he kayfabed it at all. But just to double back,
I guess they wouldn't give him a watch if the story wasn't true.
Yeah, and just to double back to what you're saying, just to explain to everyone, we're not, like you said, we shouldn't spend time on this. But if there is any type of watch that's going to get tracked and found, it's a Rolex. And this is something that people do. They go and find things that were pawned and try to find owners of them and so on and so forth. So it is certainly possible. And if not, it's also possible that they found a Rolex that was the same style, created around the same time frame. So it has the old feel to it rather than a brand new one of the same style. So there's a lot of different things it could be, but the way it sounded is they found the exact watch. And Cody was broken up when he was talking about it. So
yeah, it was really cool. I mean, such a big moment. And WWE PR said afterwards, said, was this an episode of WWE Lost, the best episode of WWE Lost Treasures, and we didn't even know it? Like he was just wondering.
Yeah, they better have taped that for sure.
I don't know, but it also sounded like Triple H didn't necessarily think Cody was going to reveal that, because he called Cody a stooge later for saying that.
No, he called him a stooge because of all of the times that he has put over Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and all these people through the entire week. He's like, what a stooge this guy is. He called him out to the ring. He was joking, obviously, but it wasn't about the watch. It was in totality.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's a great story, man. This is why I pestered WWE for 2 months to try to talk with Cody, because he has such a fascinating story. So much more than just being Dusty's son. Like, just everything about his story was great. We talked about it on the last episode before the WrestleMania. It's awesome, man. Delivered on every front. Cody's the new face. Roman absolutely delivered. And it ended up being about these two guys in the end. Like you said. It really was a Cody Roman match with some shenanigans, and not a shenanigans match.
It was a Cody and Roman match. They just said, what can we do to make it epic? And that's what they did. And kind of speaking of the history of the entire deal, I hope you all enjoyed the cold open to this show. Listening back to it, and I did trim it, obviously, the regular promo, the Hard Times promo from Dusty Rhodes, it's usually 4 minutes long. But man, it was poignant. There were so many things that he said in there, like someone looking down, wasn't able to accomplish it, gone for 10 years. I mean, it rang true almost as if he was talking about Cody in this moment. So when I was playing that back, I didn't realize that was the case, and it really hit me. So I hope it hit all of you as well when you heard that to start today's show. It's something special that I wanted to do for everyone. Now, we could talk about this match, and we could spend the entire instant analysis on it. We will normally do a WrestleMania second look when we both rewatch the show. I don't know if that's going to come on Tuesday. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we will do a special episode later this coming week. The timing's off because I am traveling to Augusta, Georgia for the 2024 Masters. Little Barry Horowitz, very excited that I get to do that. But we do and will have a lot more to talk about from this. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, they're doing that Behind the Curtains documentary Wednesday on YouTube, where they're going to apparently go fully behind the scenes and tell us everything about the pivot on this storyline. So maybe we'll wrap all of that together, do a special show on Thursday. That would make a lot of sense.
Also, they had like 7 people filming everything everywhere. Just every time I saw Cody or Rock or whatever, just there's a lot of stuff that they were filming for a million different things. And fun little thing behind the scenes, as we go down the press conference, I was in the second group. I was late. I was almost late for it. And we're going to go through the tunnel downstairs to get over to the press conference room, and security yelling at us, no, you can't go. You can't go. Cart's coming. WWE PR guy's getting annoyed. He's like, I got to get these people to the press conference. And they're like, no, cart. And he's like, it's been 3 minutes. Where's this cart coming? And then eventually a golf cart comes by, and on it being driven is The Rock, who is scrolling through his phone, doing something at some point.
Did you feel the mana this time?
Could feel the mana. It kind of breezed past me on the golf cart, but
you got a whiff. You got a whiff of the mana this time. Shout out to WWE's PR team just real quick. Media relations is very difficult in general. Like Chris and I deal with it for sports constantly. It is almost another level when it's WWE, because they're not only dealing in reality. You know what I mean? They're also dealing in kayfabe. They're dealing with a crew of journalists. And by the way, the questions, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. The questions in this press conference were the best that they've been in any WWE press conference from start to finish. Real questions that got real answers from all the wrestlers. They're also dealing, though, with media that is not in totality the most professionally trained, let's say. So just shout out to WWE Media Relations. They deserve a lot of credit. I'm sure you wanted to say that anyway, so I figured I would do it for you, Chris.
Yep, they really do. Greg Domino, Chuck Kingsbury, Gina, and the whole team. Very, very good job done this weekend, and we appreciate your help.
Now we have 5 more matches still to discuss from WWE WrestleMania 40. Night 2, let's get to them right now. The World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins defending against Drew McIntyre. McIntyre got a full bagpipe entrance. This started the show. He also got those crossing swords that you see kings get, like on TV shows and movies. Production did miss his pyro, unfortunately. Rollins also had a special entrance with a bunch of folks with brass instruments. They were playing his song. They were all dressed strangely, and I didn't feel like researching why, just being honest, but he was dressed outlandishly as well, mostly in white, and they walked all the way down the ramp and around the ring with him. Both entrances were exceptional, way better than the ones that we got for Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch on night 1. Rollins individually was epic. The crowd was on fire at the start of this show. Samantha Irvin,
real quick, before we get past it, let me explain the entrance. 2 seconds. They're called the Mummers. I didn't know this. A media guy next to me from Philadelphia. It's like an old folk thing. They do a New Year's Day parade. It's kind of like New Orleans voodoo type of stuff, jazz thing, but it's like a Philly version of that. So it was a Mummers parade for Seth Rollins, and the locals loved it.
All right. Well, the crowd was on fire. Samantha Irvin was on fire with her ring announces. This was like twice as hot a start to WrestleMania as we got Saturday, despite the lack of opening pyro, which I don't understand why they didn't do that either night. Let's get to the match. McIntyre hit Claymore literally at the bell for a 2.9 false finish. Rollins rolled out of the ring before he could hit another one. Drew immediately took out his injured knee and hit a belly-to-belly suplex ringside. He paused and grabbed a phone from the crowd and live during WrestleMania tweeted, "Bored at work, LOL," from his own account. Then he taunted CM Punk on commentary, allowing Rollins to counter Future Shock DDT into a pedigree, followed by a stomp inside for another false finish. All of this, by the way, was 2 minutes. Drew hit Glasgow Kiss and went for a second Claymore. Rollins countered into a powerbomb pedigree and a second stomp for another false finish, still selling the knee. McIntyre avoided a super stomp. Rollins avoided Claymore. McIntyre avoided another stomp, hit Future Shock for another false finish. Drew contemplated what to do next. He taunted Punk, tried to do go to sleep. Rollins countered into a small package. McIntyre came back with another Claymore false finish. Punk loudly taunted him from commentary. Rollins escaped a powerbomb and stomped McIntyre, running off one announce table onto the other. But as soon as they got back inside the ring, McIntyre hit a Claymore out of nowhere for another false finish. So Rollins yelled at him, and McIntyre hit a fourth Claymore for the 1-2-3 to become the second World Heavyweight Champion after a 10-minute barn burner match.
But I want you to know this. I prayed for this and it happened.
After the bell, Rollins mouthed to McIntyre, "You fucking deserve it, man." He celebrated, got on one knee, presented the title to his wife in the crowd. Then he climbed on the commentary table, crouched right in front of Punk, saying, "Every single thing I said about you is true, and I meant every word of it." He said other stuff I couldn't really hear. It was all off mic. They didn't get the camera in the right spot, so it was tough to hear him. But he promised to end Punk's career if he ever stepped in the ring with him again. Then he held the title right in his face and he did the suck it motion. Punk had enough at that point, pulled McIntyre's leg, thrashing him on the table. Then he took off his brace, put it on the other good arm, hit him in the face with it. Then he blew a kiss to McIntyre's wife. And as he did that, all of a sudden, Damian Priest's music hits. He runs down with the briefcase, basically blindsides him like a drive-by, McIntyre, right in the head, cashed in the briefcase, hit the best south of heaven in his entire career, and won the World Heavyweight Championship in 7 seconds. Punk mockingly sat pipe bomb style on the announce table. He clapped as McIntyre stared back at him. The crowd popped massively as Priest celebrated with all the rest of Judgment Day on the ramp, and the only thing missing from this, again, was pyro. Well, holy shit, what a start to WrestleMania. You can argue it was better than most of night 1. Just remarkable booking and creative execution. My lone nitpick is that I could have gone for one less false finish sequence in the main match. It just got repetitive doing so many of them, but it was finisher spam. The idea was for Rollins to go down as strong as possible, like the fighting champion he proved to be, while building McIntyre up as a deserving new champion. It hit incredibly well, starting just as I hoped, with at least a tease of a squash. They worked me there, and a couple times on the Rollins falls where I thought he might retain and I was getting upset. The tweet actually going live was a cherry on top, and the celebration, how he got in Punk's face, just like I hoped he would, all of it was straight up excellent. It's perfect that Rollins lost, given all the sacrifices he made on Saturday. McIntyre got his moment in front of the crowd. Punk got his revenge on him. And obviously, Priest got his moment too. We're going to talk about that separately. Despite the finisher spam, I went 4.25 stars and an A for this match because it all made sense in storyline and booking. It was awesome to start the show. So much more emotional for me having Drew win this title than Sammy win the Intercontinental title on Saturday.
Oh, totally 100% agree with you. Yeah, I thought it was a really good match, not a great match, just because it was so finisher spammy. And trying to think who's kicked out of a curb stomp. It's not that many, but there were so many Claymores in this match. Just isn't enough built around it. But when Drew wins, crowd cheered. Like, we were all ready for that, and he really did seem emotional to finally have that. And, this podcast started right as he won that title in an empty performance center. And we talked about that he did a great job, that he carried the company for quite a while, but he never had the belt when the fans were there. And so really, it was in the moment, I thought it was really cool that he got that. He goes over and starts taunting CM Punk. And I couldn't hear any. I had no broadcast. But by the way, our seating in the press box this time, I got there really early in line. And because it was warmer out, we opened up all the windows so we could hear everything live and all that. And so we couldn't really hear the broadcast. I don't know how CM Punk was on commentary. Some people said he seemed to be good. I don't know.
Yeah, he was good.
But then when he starts doing his thing with Punk, I was like, okay, he got a good amount of time to enjoy the moment before he went back to doing the CM Punk stuff. Which, by the way, the woman, he went back to the woman who had the phone. I assume that was his wife.
Yeah, I said so. It's his wife. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, he got to celebrate it, which is really cool, before he goes back into the CM Punk stuff.
He got to celebrate it, not to interrupt you, but he got to celebrate it, and it took a lot for Punk to snap on him. He didn't just taunt him a little bit. He was he was crotching his face. I mean.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. He went over the top for sure. I don't know what Punk was saying back. I couldn't tell, but
Punk didn't say anything. Punk basically said, dude, I got cans on. I can't hear what you're saying. Like, he was Punk, for, to his credit, like in the kayfabe aspect, because Punk's going to fly off the handle if someone talks shit to him. He was sitting back, letting him do it. And then he just went too far and stuck his crotch in his face. And Punk's like, F that, I'm not going to take it anymore. That's pretty much what happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, in terms of Priest cash-in, fans always go wild for Money in the Bank. But Chris, this was among the best I can remember from the men's side. Certainly not top 2, but I'm quite confident saying it was top 5, and it might well be number 3, given Punk's participation and all the storyline elements surrounding it. McIntyre being his own worst enemy, but not knowing it was the perfect way to pay off the side angle of him and Punk. And it also explains why they went finisher spam in the match, because it was meant to knock McIntyre down from like an energy and a recovery standpoint so that he was exposed for a cash-in. If he won that match in a squash like we thought might happen on Saturday, and then he just takes one brace shot and then South of Heaven, which isn't even that strong of a finisher, you're like, oh my God, they kind of just jobbed him out. This guy took multiple stomps. He was exhausted. He was injured and hurt. Then he took the brace, and then he took South of Heaven. And, he also took the briefcase shot. So they really protected him in losing the title, for this situation. I have no idea what's going to happen next. We could get McIntyre Priest at Clash at the Castle in Scotland. That way Drew can win in his home country. He could take it back before that and fight Punk on that show. It could be McIntyre Punk without a title in the main event of that show. No clue. But this was undoubtedly a true WrestleMania moment, trademark. It paid off Priest's long tenure with the briefcase. It made me more excited for him as a champion, made me believe in him more as a champion. The South of Heaven was exceptionally executed. And if you combine both of these, I'm not saying it's like a match grade, but as a opener for WrestleMania, this was an A+. From an energy and excitement, storytelling standpoint, you couldn't really ask for much more.
The Punk aspect is what I think made it so great, in that we kept thinking, hey, could Priest cash in? Does he cash in on Rollins or McIntyre? And you played it out in your head, and you thought, McIntyre kind of needs to have the moment. He can't win it and then immediately lose it, because then he loses all his heat. Like in our mind as we predicted it. But because he got to enjoy the moment, and we all accepted that he had won, and then the CM Punk stuff, he was so it just added to the CM Punk bit of it all, that when Priest comes down, you're like, whoa, this is like adds on top of that. And so you get Priest winning, an awesome moment, which at the same time further elevates Punk McIntyre. That's the thing. Like, it's great for Priest and it's great for McIntyre Punk. So it totally worked. Really well done all around. I don't know what's next for anybody. I would just say I want McIntyre Punk at Clash of the Castle. With the title, without, don't care. I know SummerSlam's like around there or something, but
no, you got to do it. He has to have a title situation or a Punk situation in Scotland. Yeah. It has to be one of the two.
I want Punk to get the John Cena treatment in Chicago.
Oh God, that'd be amazing. Yes,
it'd be amazing.
Yes,
that's what I want.
By the way, and I'm going to mention her multiple times on this show. Samantha was extraordinary last night announcing Sammy's title win, but she was exceptional here, calling both McIntyre's win and Priest's cash-in. So much passion, energy, character in her voice. She had no idea the Money in the Bank part was coming. Also, Bad Bunny trolled Drew by quote tweeting the board at work tweet with quote, "Hope you had a good shift," which is hysterical. Drew later quote tweeted himself saying fuck, and Punk remixed that cemetery picture with Drew on the headstone and then Punk crouching over it with the peace sign. So great work from all of them. Priest, by the way, is the second Puerto Rican world champion in WWE history behind Pedro Morales, the first one in 50 years. He's now a Triple Crown winner, and he's the first former North American champion from NXT to win a main roster world title. Good for him. Let me also say, Rollins, as far as I'm concerned, he's the new Mr. WrestleMania, taking the mantle from Shawn Michaels. I'm not saying he's better than him. I'm not saying he's replacing him. I'm saying modern day. It was an incredible performance from him across both nights. The way he sold for Drew in that match, the way they told that story, what he did in the main event, everything that happened on Saturday, he deserves his kudos.
Yep, nope, totally. Seth's great. In that farewell from Seth, paired with Becky losing on Saturday, makes you wonder, are they going to take some time off? We know Seth's back is a problem. Of all the people, him especially taking some time off, I think we all would expect coming out of Mania. And the way Seth went out would further indicate that, but we'll see.
It's an interesting subplot here across all three of them, actually, because McIntyre's contract expires first. And the question is, did they give him a world title win as a thank you for the pandemic, regardless of whether he re-signed, knowing he was going to lose it anyway? And the Punk match, could that be a write-off for him? Like, depending when that happens. My expectation is he's all in with WWE. And this was done to give him some time off. He can go see his family in Scotland. He can come back in a month. And then he has 4 weeks to build to Clash at the Castle. Like, that's my guess when it comes to McIntyre. But what you just said is it plays into it as well. It seems like Rollins and Becky Lynch are going to be taking some time off now. And Becky, told me that her contract was expiring 70 days from when we had that conversation, end of May. So we're looking at, 7 weeks from now. Now, if they take time off, I guess they could tack time on and extend it. That gives them more time to negotiate. I don't know the details of everything that's happening. But as far as I know, as of right now, they have not re-signed with WWE. McIntyre, there's been really no news about it. I've consistently been told that they're on good terms and the expectation is he will sign if that has not happened already.
Yeah.
So
they're not going to Scotland and putting Drew McIntyre on the poster. Drew McIntyre's not going to be with the
correct.
company.
That's how I feel.
He's staying here. He's staying.
But even with Rollins and Becky, it's like, look, other people. You want to talk about Sheamus? Like maybe he shows up in AEW. Sure, I believe that. Rollins and Becky, I don't see that happening. For me, it's like I could see maybe Becky takes time off to be a mother and Rollins continues working, but I can't see them going anywhere else or doing anything else unless Becky's going to act or something like that.
They're not. If they're WWE or they're taking time off, like the Garganos kind of did, it's just one of those situations.
Just felt it was worth addressing because we really didn't do it, and you did mention, of course, Becky and Seth. But everyone, they lost. Everything that they did, they lost. And so it was worth talking about. Let's move to the WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky defending against Bayley. On SmackDown, there was an extended video package narrated by Bayley detailing the rise of Damage Control, which included real photos and videos of them that were not shot for WWE. It was extremely well done. Bayley also announced on Twitter that WWE did try to get Paramore to give her a special entrance. That's her dream entrance. It just didn't work with her schedule. So Bayley got carried out by 4 men dressed as Egyptian goddess Isis. She was. That is a role model for women as a goddess, same as her gimmick, role model, and also the goddess of rebirth, basically saying she's a new woman. They removed her wings, and she got a remixed entrance theme billed as the role model again. Fans were on fire for Bayley. Io's entrance didn't have anything special, but the graphics package and the lights, the sequence that they did, it was immense. She looked sick. Fans saying, hey Bayley, at the bell. She smiled. But a section of the audience sang it for the entire match, which was absolutely wild. Bayley caught Io jumping off a barricade for a spear tackle at ringside. Io hit a moonsault outside, better than Charlotte Flair, but Bayley hit a sunset flip powerbomb into the corner. Io came back with 2 really tight German suplexes. Bayley got her legs straight up to counter Io's moonsault, sold a knee injury. She was hobbling for most of the match after that. Io avoided a flying elbow into 2 crossfaces and an STF. Bayley to belly was next for a false finish. Io said that she's sorry, then sucker punched Bayley and laughed in her face. They exchanged huge strikes. Io countered a Bayley to belly and hit a double underhook backbreaker, a tiger backbreaker, plus over the moonsault for a 2.8 false finish. So Io hit another moonsault, but Bayley avoided a third, only for Io to counter Rose Plant with an awesome handstand. The crowd popped huge for that. But she got her head clotheslined off her body. Bayley then hit a back suplex, a flying elbow, and Rose Plant for the 1-2-3 to win the WWE Women's title in 14 minutes. This was perhaps the second best match of Bayley's career, and it was a top 2, I think, Io match in WWE. I was surprised at the title change, just given the spot on the show. Right before the main event, they had a huge babyface go over, and I texted Chris, I was like, you don't do this in this spot, and then put the title on Cody. But that's exactly what they did. Holy shit. The crowd wanted this so bad. They almost willed her to victory. I said on the Ultimate Preview, I thought Io was going to retain and Bayley would win at a future time. Triple H clearly said, you know what? We're doing the changes on this show. Everyone's going over. Let's just have a moment. This was outstanding. George Kittle from Bayley's favorite San Francisco 49ers, he was there cheering her on. This was an exceptional moment for her. So well-deserved after everything she has done for WWE. Through the pandemic until now, I loved every part of the match. Some of those counter sequences were top tier. This and the women's title match from Saturday, they are proof that the WWE women's division is only getting stronger. The crowd was as invested in this as anything else across the 2 nights, maybe with the exception of Cody and Roman on Sunday.
Yeah, I need to rewatch this one because I thought it was really good. But I saw a lot of the reaction about how incredible this was. So it may just have been my spot where I was sitting and maybe thinking ahead to the main event. And I was pre-writing a little bit of stuff for my Cody story. So I may not have just been fully engaged in this match as I should have been. Kind of the same thing with Gunther Sammy yesterday. I was a little confused at the entrance, which I thought looked great. But I was like, role model... Egypt, what are we doing here? Also, role model was the heel nickname. That was the point.
That she can still be a babyface role model.
That she's not really a role model. Right, but I'm just saying, that's when she started calling herself the role model, as a heel. So I was like, wait, we're still going with this gimmick. So I don't really know what she is moving forward, but she's a champion. And it was awesome to see. She got her moment. I didn't think she was going to win going in just because it was a show where a lot of babyfaces won. I was like, well, they're not going to have Bayley win right before Cody wins, right? And so then I was surprised and happy when she won. And then also thinking, about Cody. So this was great. Again, I got to go back and rewatch some of it, though.
I forgot to give a grade. I was at 4.75 stars, A+. I really thought this was exceptional. This is one of those situations we're going to rewatch. We'll give a second look, but this was fantastic. Let's move to the United States Championship. Logan Paul defending against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens on SmackDown. They did the KO show. The guys had fun talking shit until Logan appeared on the mini Titantron. He cut a promo from the Mania stage. Of course, they were in an arena for SmackDown. So KO and Orton decided to run across the street and go after him. As they ran through the crowd, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller appeared from under the ring. They missed their cue in kayfabe. They followed them out of the arena. The faces eventually took off in a golf cart, which was legitimately funny, only for Logan to flip and show up in the arena, explaining it was all a setup for an ambush. Theory and Waller show up on stage, can't find anyone. Suddenly, KO and Orton appear from underneath the ring. Stunner, RKO on Logan. Excellent sells by him on both of them. The second he sold like total death. This was a fun segment to eat up time and pop the crowd. I hoped for some dissension between the faces because they're competing against one another, but they had a blast and it did not matter. So moving into WrestleMania, Logan entered riding a Prime cannon on top of a Prime truck. There was a Prime bottle. I thought it was KSI again. And a Prime cart with a big Prime bottle at ringside. Prime. Zayn returned the favor to Owens, standing just outside gorilla position, holding the Intercontinental title, telling him it was his turn. KO had an ECW logo style short and also ECW graphics on his entrance. He started walking down the ramp, went back, grabbed a golf cart, and looked like he was riding that to the ring. Instead, he reversed back up the ramp. Randy Orton's music hit, and KO convinced Orton to get on top. So he jumps on the golf cart and they ride down the ramp together. They teamed up, throwing Logan into the cart and doing the backdrop on the announce table. The strategy worked until they wanted to pin Paul. Orton tried and failed to sneak attack RKO, with Owens looking disappointed and fans chanting, "You fucked up." So they just mutually decided to fight. Paul hit a double buckshot lariat. Why they haven't named that move Primetime, I have no idea. Logan then did an awesome swanton bomb into KO, immediately following with a standing frog splash on Orton. He also won an uppercut battle with Randy, only to get caught on a buckshot with an Orton power slam, a tad clunky. Orton hit a double draping DDT. Owens hit a code breaker on Orton, falling back on Paul for a senton. Michael Cole did call out the Chris Jericho reference. Owens hit a turning fisherman's buster off the ropes and a legitimately perfect moonsault on Logan for a false finish. Logan caught Orton flush with the brass knuckles for a 2.9. Owens then took shots to the body and jaw with the brass knuckles. Orton countered another swing with an RKO, then took the knucks and gave them to the referee. He set up for a return of the knockout kick, to run across the ring and kick him in the head. The punt kick. Only for the Prime bottle to pull Logan out of the ring, saving him. It was a different streamer guy in this costume. He shoved Randy. Orton ripped the costume off of him, RKO'd his ass on the announce table. Logan ran Orton into the post, missed a frog splash, and ate a pop-up powerbomb. Owens then hit Stunner on Orton for a false finish. Orton countered pop-up powerbomb midair with an RKO. Logan ran him into the post and hit a ridiculous sky-high frog splash on Owens to retain the title in 18 minutes. And I gotta tell you, I was kind of left speechless after this. It was incredible, like legitimately incredible. We say Logan has no business being this good. He took his game to another level here. This was ridiculous. The pacing of the match was top tier. The finish went exactly as I expected, which was the right move because SummerSlam's in Cleveland. We were made to think Owens and Orton each had legitimate chances to win. They even told the story of Owens and Orton at the start, like the story of their friendship and then having to go back and forth. The pop-up powerbomb into the RKO was the spot of the match, but it was one of many that blew the roof off the place. Logan's frog splash. I mean, look, Montez Ford is the best one active. Logan is a very close second. He got a full split-legged extension. I legitimately think I might be underselling this match, praising it as much as I am. This was like 4.5 stars A. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. Had a lot of fun. It's another one I gotta go rewatch and kind of really get like connected into it. I just remember watching and being like, this is really fun. This is cool. And I looked up the other guy who was in the Prime bottle. It wasn't KSI. I still don't know who KSI is.
His name is I Show Speed.
I Show Speed. And according to Wikipedia, he is a YouTuber and a rapper best known for live streams in which he plays video games, which, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's, he's paired with the heel. So I guess that makes sense. Also, he's 19 years old. Randy kicking him and the top of the Prime bottle falling off was funny. And then Orton pulling the Prime bottle costume off of him. So then when he went to do the RKO, it didn't even work as an advertisement because you couldn't see the Prime bottle anyway. So I swear to God, Randy Orton has the worst luck with tables. How many times does he RKO a guy in a table and it doesn't break? And how the hell does it not break? It seems like this happens all the time. Or the ones when he throws the guy up and toss him on there. I don't know. I tell you, I thought we were gonna get like Randy Orton turning heel here, potentially on Kevin Owens or something like that.
He's having too much fun as a face, dude.
He's having
so
a
good.
hell of a lot of fun as a face,
Yeah.
just like he was having a lot of fun with RK Bro before that.
Uh-huh.
So it's working. It's totally working. I just wonder if at some point we'll get back to the Viper. But this was a blast. Look, pretty much every Logan Paul match is a really good match. He's just really good at this. And now that we'll have a champion who shows up all the time in Cody, it's okay to have a part-time champion with the U.S. title who doesn't show up all the time.
By the way, did you hear? Did the fans chant Gatorade during this match?
Yeah, so I totally forgot to mention.
I wasn't sure if I heard that right. Okay,
crowd chanted Gatorade.
Good call.
Early on in the match, which was hilarious.
It is better.
Obviously, they chanted what? They chanted H2O.
Beautiful, even better than Gatorade.
They chanted "We want water."
Love it
as well. There might have been one more, I don't recall, but yeah, those three. Crowd was having a hell of a time.
By the way,
we'll talk more about the crowd and the environment and all that. I guess once we get through the matches. But yeah, that was a highlight.
I'm just thinking about this right now. So you just said like RK Bro, right? These guys are having such a good time together. Who are the new champions? Waller and Theory, who they've been feuding with, right? How can you? What would you call their tag team? RKO. So
how has this not happened already? That just hit me too.
So why, under what scenario would we not, let's say by SummerSlam at the latest, maybe way sooner than that, have Owens and Orton take the tag team titles off of Waller and Theory? I think they have to do it.
Yeah, and they're just called RKO.
No, you have to like pause. RKO, right? It's perfect.
It'd be R-KO.
Exactly. Yes. You got it. I think they have to do that. It makes so much sense. I just thought of it right now. It works.
Me
perfectly.
too.
Yeah, it's great.
It hit me too.
Well, you mentioned it. You said RK Bro, and I'm like, wait, what'd you say? And then it just clicked. I was like, that's clear. I mean, I hope that's exactly what they're doing, and it would set up perfectly if it is. So let's keep going here. LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Now, Knight brawled and bloodied Styles at a press event that Chris, you attended on Friday. How chaotic was that being there live? It seemed fun as hell.
Dude, okay, yeah. So I said I would talk about this on the Sunday pod. So I interviewed the media setup, they had 6 or 8 backdrops in sets of chairs at each one. And there were 2 90-minute segments. They rotated the wrestlers in and out. And you basically had to stand in line and you'd get a 3-minute one-on-one. Didn't love the format, but whatever. But I talked to AJ about a couple things, whatever. And then I go get in another line and AJ's in the first session. And then LA Knight comes in halfway through the first session, I want to say, I think. And I was like, he's here early. That's weird. And he goes and sits down. He does several interviews, and I see it. And then all of a sudden, I see a light fall down in a stool, and because there's a crowd of people, I was like, oh, did someone just accidentally knock something down? That's really awkward. And then I see everybody running over there, and then I go, oh, wait a minute, LA Knight and AJ were next to each other. So I run over there. We've all got our phones out, and we're filming this thing, and we're watching it, and they're going at it. And they really did it like a fake real fight. It wasn't like doing wrestling moves to each other. They're just tackling each other and holding each other down.
It was a barroom brawl. Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to really, really do it and go at it. And you ever see those videos of Dallas Cowboy games and fans are fighting and everybody around it is just recording it. And you're like, why are all these people recording and not breaking it up? That's what this felt like, except we all knew it was a pro wrestling angle. And so it's just going on. It's going on for quite a while. And I was like, where is security? I'm surprised. Where are they going to come break this up? And the back body drops him onto the pretty hard floor. AJ gets up. He's got a bloody nose. They're cursing at each other. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then eventually somebody came and pulled them out. And WWE PR guy told me, he's like, we didn't know they were doing that.
That's awesome.
Apparently, he was like, I think only a couple of people knew. AJ, LA Knight, and Triple H, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. WWE PR eventually had to go find some WWE official to break it up, to tell them to break it up, because they needed somebody there to say break it up. Otherwise, what was going to happen? They were just going to keep going at it. So that was crazy. That was awesome. I can't believe WWE didn't note it on SmackDown or note it during the hype video or nothing. It turned out to eventually just be a social media thing.
It worked. It got a lot of play.
It never came out of us, but it was kind of that guerrilla marketing type of thing.
Yeah.
And I put it up on TikTok, and it got taken down for being violent content. So I guess it was a shoot fight.
And everyone made a big deal. All the superstars made a big deal because AJ said fuck, and he doesn't curse.
Yeah.
And he and under any circumstances, off TV with friends, hanging out. So it was a big deal to everyone, and it came across really, really cool. So on SmackDown, since you mentioned it, Knight hit the ring. He was in the middle of cutting a pretty fire promo when all of a sudden his gum got caught in his throat, and he literally needed to pause and swallow it, and the crowd went wild. It's crazy how something always seems to happen to this guy during his promos, but it was great from him, just from an energy standpoint. Fun attack earlier in the day. They didn't add a stipulation to the match despite all of those things happening. And as we said on the Ultimate Preview, it seemed like it needed one. Let's see if we felt the same way coming out of the match. Knight got a normal entrance, but Styles was kind of cool. He had brand new entrance music, tons of pyro. He looked great wearing all black, kind of like the cowboy from Westworld. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Styles charged the ring and then quickly brawled outside before Styles began dominating inside, pulling Knight into Snake Eyes from an electric chair plus a strong front slam. Knight came back with a box jump, release, avalanche, German suplex. Styles got in calf crusher. Then he wrapped the knee around the post, drop kicked it from the apron, and backdropped Knight onto exposed concrete ringside. Knight got knees up on a springboard 450. Styles countered BFT. Knight escaped Styles' clash and hit the rope during phenomenal forearm, hitting BFT for the massive win for him in 12 minutes. Look, I have not seen every Eli Drake match. In fact, I'm not sure I've seen more than 2 or 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was the best match of LA Knight's entire career. Styles, he wrestled some incredible folks at WrestleMania over the years, but I think his 2 best matches may have been against Shane McMahon and LA Knight. It's crazy stuff. Styles said this week that he may retire soon. This was the best dude has looked in years. The shit was electric, bell to bell. They went 100 miles an hour and never relented. It was to the point through 3 matches on this card, I believe this was 3rd, that I was trying to catch my breath just due to all the action and the building on the show. But this was excellent, a deserved WrestleMania win for Knight after the last 2 years. I went 3.75 stars and a B+.
Yeah, one of the people AJ Styles said he might retire to was me, because I asked him, I said, what is your future? Like, your contract's ends up this year. And he says you don't want to be someone who goes out there and embarrasses yourself. Like, you want people to think, oh man, that's AJ Styles. He wants to stay at that high level.
He was there tonight.
But he's there, man. He's 46. He's 46.
I think he's 2 years older than Randy Orton, I think.
And 5 years older than LA Knight. And so he looked great. LA Knight looked great. So happy for him in this moment. Plugging again, but I wrote a story on him and his journey to get here.
Man,
and all
the
that.
cheap hops are.
And I thought this is such a great blood feud that LA Knight would lose.
Yeah, during the match, I felt that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'd keep it going. And look, you still can. LA Knight can win this, and they do it again. And
sure,
AJ
can attack him. They do Hell in a Cell. They do something else. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
You can totally do it, but that's why I thought that would happen. Man, the pop for him on the entrance was huge. The pop for him on the win was huge. Mm-hmm. This guy is so freaking over, man. And I listened to an interview he did over the weekend where he was talking about even as recently as last summer when he was super over and the WWE brass didn't totally buy it, kind of. And he had to just keep going out there and making something for himself to the point where I think they just wrote out AJ Styles to give LA Knight the Roman match and the Cena stuff, because I didn't see any reports of
that was supposed
AJ
to be Styles
being injured.
That was supposed to be Styles in that match. It was
right, but I'm saying I don't think AJ got actually hurt.
No, they wrote him out. Yeah,
they just straight wrote him out to do that. So that's when LA Knight got the push, and now he moves forward where his goal is he's got to win some gold. He hasn't won any championships in WWE. He proved that he can be a guy and do a Roman feud and carry his own. And so now it's, maybe we get into the U.S. title picture come Logan Paul SummerSlam type of stuff. Now this launches him into start winning championships. But really cool for him. Both these guys absolutely had a hell of a match, especially for two guys over 40, man. That was awesome.
Totally on track for that match at SummerSlam. I also want to note, I know folks are conditioned to automatically hate whatever Def Rebel produces. And don't get me wrong, a lot of what they do does suck. But I had no real issue with Bayley's remix. I actually thought it was a positive. And Styles' new theme I thought was totally fine. Like, maybe I need to hear them again. They both sounded good. Bayley's added some funk because she's not a heel anymore. Styles was real heelish and it fit his gimmick. When he was running down the ramp with that music playing, I believed that he was a bad guy. Now, you're not going to top his old theme, don't get me wrong. But again, I don't have much of a problem with either. And I do hate Def Rebel shit usually. But for all the stuff that they do wrong, they do a Trick Williams or they do the Roman Reigns theme or something else. The Creed Brothers theme was horrendous, right? But these two weren't that bad. I didn't think they were bad at all, actually. Again, maybe I need to hear them back. I don't understand why people were throwing a fit about it. I think anytime someone has the theme and it gets remixed, initially like, that sucks. But a lot of times it doesn't. And in these cases, I didn't think they sucked.
Yeah, look, AJ's I liked. It fit him. That rock country type of stuff. Like, that's him, man. I don't know how much rap AJ Styles is listening to. I know, but just like song
he's definitely not.
felt like AJ Styles. So
it did.
I liked it. The Bayley one, I gotta go back and listen because it felt like just a combination of a lot of sounds.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair.
And I didn't love the Damage Control theme either. So I gotta go. You gotta hear it a few times. You gotta give it time. Maybe you come around on it. Maybe you don't. I think we'll come around on AJ. Have not come around on Naomi. And we'll see about some of the others.
Speaking of things that surprisingly didn't suck, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits fought the Final Testament in a Philadelphia street fight. On SmackDown, Karrion Kross led a fantastic, angry, manic promo saying they focused on Lashley and company because he cried about being left off Mania last year, while Kross and Authors of Pain were unemployed for reasons that had nothing to do with them. That's facts. It's pretty cool that he said that. This was legit the best part of the entire feud, that promo. B-Fab primarily cut a response promo that was also solid. They were all wearing matching t-shirts, and those shirts had fists on them, and then they raised their fists together to end the segment. And they still didn't say their name was the Pride. I remember when the group was started, people were really quick to compare them to Nation of Domination, just only because of their skin color. And they were rightly criticized for doing that. But it doesn't stop the comparisons to NOD if you're going to use their signature gesture. You know what I mean?
Yes, agree.
Like, if you don't want to be them, then don't do the same shtick. That's the best way I can put it. But this was second on the card. Snoop Dogg was a special guest commentator, given Gin and Juice sponsored the match. Now, you didn't get to hear it. He was hysterical. Bubba Ray Dudley.
I heard it was really good. I'm looking forward to going back on it. One of the top things I'm looking forward to hearing for the first time.
Bubba Ray Dudley got a huge pop as a special guest referee. Interesting is the Faces were called the Pride multiple times during the Sunday Countdown, but they still haven't said it themselves, nor were they announced as it for the match, nor was it on the graphic. So it's like, what are they doing with this? So the match starts with kendo sticks being exploded on the Faces' backs. AOP quickly hit Super Collider and stacked the Profits, but B-Fab broke the fall with a kendo stick. Then she ate a trash can from Scarlett. Montez Ford hit the absurd tope over the ring post into AOP. B-Fab took Scarlett off the apron, through a table with a Russian leg sweep. So much was going on. The fans didn't notice it happened, but it was a baller move. Lashley took a Doomsday Saito and a DDT on a chair. Kross shoved Bubba, so he put his Dudley Boy's glasses on. Kross got speared by Lashley, getting distracted by that. Bubba then just said, screw it. I'm a biased referee. I'm helping the Faces. He directed them for what's up. And they did a 4-way shove, one after another. And they did the get the table spot. Loud ass chant for that and ECW chants. The table collapsed when Kross was put on it because Lashley, the veteran, didn't put the legs out all the way. So they grabbed another table. While they did that, Ford destroyed a kendo stick into Kross. And he hit an awesome frog splash through the table. Lashley covered for the 1-2-3 in 8 minutes. This was pure, unadulterated fan service entertainment. Snoop was hilarious on commentary. Bubba was the least impartial WWE official in years. The crowd was all in for everything. They even gestured with the faces after the bell. It worked from bell to bell. The heels disintegrating those kendo sticks was a great way to start it. Speaking of, great improv by Montez doing that to Cross while the new table was getting set up. We said this had no business being on WrestleMania. And while we were right about that, they gave us a match that was as good as I could have hoped. It was better than some of the matches on night one and better than some of the matches that were in WrestleMania in its totality. I went 3 stars B-, but it was super fun.
Yeah, this is exactly what we said it had to be. Like, just be kind of a train wreck and be fun. The Bubba Ray Dudley thing definitely amped up the excitement when he came out, ECW and all that. And this was fun and low-key, I don't say MVPs, but like low-key stars of this match were B-Fab and Scarlett. They were great. B-Fab especially.
Yeah, it wasn't the best wrestling, the most technical, but like they amped up the intensity of the match.
Yeah. It wasn't a 6-man match. It was an 8-person match.
It really was. They should have made it a mixed match.
They were just in the match basically from the beginning, and they both had some bumps and stuff and had big spots and hit them, and they were great too. So shout out to everybody for having fun. Faces win, a nice cheer for everybody. Please break up the pride. Let these guys who are all really,
or focus
really,
them,
really
or focus them and make it something.
No,
you have to make a decision.
With them. I've been done with them for 4 months.
I know.
Focus them. They've been a team for like 8 months.
8 months.
They
still
haven't even decided if they have a name.
I know. It's unbelievable.
Like, it's done.
It's
Go
ridiculous.
Do something else. They're both great. Get apart.
Before we get to the grades for night 2 of WrestleMania, just a couple of atmospheric notes. Tremendous, I thought, God Bless America rendition to start the show. Better than the national anthem, not just in the rendition, but just the song choice. But again, as we said Saturday, they got to bring back America the Beautiful, at least for one of the 2 nights. And really, Chris, there is no reason that Samantha Irvin does not sing at least one of the songs.
Yes, America the Beautiful is better than both of those. It's one of the things Vince McMahon was right about. And yes, you would think Samantha Irvin should do at least one of those, but they really, really love having celebrities do that.
So let her then do the national anthem and then have celebrities do God Bless America and America the Beautiful then. She should be singing. There's no reason for her not to sing.
Wait, you're gonna do 3 songs?
Not all in one show. I'm saying maybe she does the national anthem like during the kickoff show both nights, and then you do God Bless America on night 1, and then America the Beautiful on night 2. That's what I'm saying.
That's to me, that's too many songs. I would just love for her to sing both. That's what I would do. I just don't expect it because they want the celebrities to do that, and understandably why.
It's understandable, but she should get one opportunity.
It's like a Super Bowl. It's like a whatever. You have a celebrity come in.
Then let her do it then at like SummerSlam or something. She's a great singer.
That's a great
Let
idea.
her sing. Like Lillian Garcia got to sing. Let Samantha sing. That's all I'm trying to say. Now, I don't understand why there was no opening pyro for either night of WrestleMania. Like, it can't be a budgetary thing. There were pyro in other parts. There was not enough pyro in totality. But when you're starting WrestleMania, to not do that pyro entrance where the crowd goes crazy, I think it hurt them on night 1. It didn't hurt them as much on night 2, but I just thought it was odd.
I didn't understand it. Some people in the press box were theorizing that, especially the first night, because it was really windy, maybe they cut down on some of it. But again, they didn't do a ton on night 2 either. So I don't know. I don't know how much outdoor has part to do with it. I think it's probably easier to do indoor.
There was plenty of pyro on the show. Other people had it.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they just kind of saved it all for Cody Roman in the main events.
Yeah, and Drew. Drew had fire. AJ had pyro.
Every Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania, every show should open with the pyro.
Totally.
It just sets the tone so
unless you're doing like a cold open type of deal, it should start with pyro. I totally agree with you.
Right. It's just to get you hyped up for all the things Triple H has brought back from the past, the closing, the new signature, all this stuff. I'm surprised, really surprised we didn't get pyro to open up Mania.
Also, I don't know if you noticed this. So WWE, they announced a combined 2-day attendance of something like 145,298. It was a number like that. And Snoop Dogg was the one who read the announcement in the ring on Sunday. But he changed the number because he wanted to say 420. So he said 145,420 when he read the number instead of 298. I laughed my ass off because the number was different on the screen. And Triple H made a comment about it during the press conference. He goes, regardless of what Snoop said, it was 145,298, something like that. But I say that to say this, Chris. Sunday night's crowd Hell effing yeah. That's how you do it. I get it. Saturday was cold. The sun went down early, or it was cloudy and it was a shitty situation. Fine. Sunday night's crowd. That is what a WrestleMania crowd should be. They deserve all the credit in the world.
Yeah, I wasn't totally sure at first because, like I said, we had the windows fully open on the second night, so we could hear all them great. I couldn't tell how much was better there, but I tell you, the biggest reason is just it was warm. It was a lot warmer, and even if the temperature wasn't that different, it was really windy on Saturday, and it was not very windy at all on Sunday. And I was actually kind of sweating in line before getting into the stadium because the sun was beating down. So the mood was, it's wild how like 5 degrees can be all the difference. And that's really, I think, the majority of what it was. Yeah. And more happened on night two, obviously, to kind of keep people involved. Didn't have letdown matches like maybe we got on the first night, but honestly,
a letdown middle third of the show like we got on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a heck of a time being in that crowd and having a lot of fun, and they killed it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we don't have to come out of this Mania being like, man, it was an amazing weekend, but the crowd really sucked.
Right.
You know, crowd sucked for a bit, but when mattered, especially on the second night, they delivered.
I also
that was fun.
Quickly want to give a shout out to Jose M and his 9-year-old son, who brought a Acknowledge the Getting Over Wrestling podcast sign to WrestleMania. Now, I didn't notice it on screen. It's very tough to look for those things when I'm doing notes and all that. I will watch WrestleMania back. And if you did get on TV, then you guys will get a segment on the show, as we always promise. But I saw the sign, tweeted me a picture of it, DM me a picture of it. We acknowledge you, Jose, and your son. We greatly appreciate the support. And if anyone else attended and you didn't bring a sign, well, shame on you. But Chris, let's go ahead and get to our final grades of WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 2. Then we're going to, of course, go over the grade for the entire 2-night show. A reminder for everyone, as a pre-show expectation grade, the Silver King was at an A for Night 2. Vintage Chris Vanini was at an A for Night 2. And you, the Getting Overheads, you were 80.6% A, 16.4% B, 0.6% C, and 2.4% D or F, which makes literally no sense whatsoever. That averages out to a 94 out of 100, which is a perfect, regular, middle-of-the-road A. Now, Chris, let's get to our post-show grades. As always, even though I want to go first this time, I'm not going to. We always let you go first with your final grade for pay-per-views and premium live events. What was your thought on WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 2?
So just night 2?
Just night 2.
I'm going to give an A+. Everything delivered. It was a lot of fun. And we had some of the biggest of possible moments. Those are always the things that I look for. The wrestling was really good across the board. I can't find a flaw in night 2.
Yeah.
A+.
I completely agree with you. It was a flawless show. You know, if we were doing a numerical grade, I'm not giving it 100 out of 100. Like, it wasn't absolutely perfect. You know, you'd have to just put an all-time card together for that to be the case. But I got to tell you, dude, it was as close to perfect as you could ask for from a WrestleMania night. It was a definite A+. I'm probably, if I had to put a number on it, like 98 out of 100. You really can't ask for more. And our Getting Overheads, they were even more bullish because I actually had to change the polling. There was no situation in which anyone was going to give Night 2 of WrestleMania a C or a D or F. So I changed the polling this time. For the first time in the history of this podcast, the categories were A+, A to A-, B+ to B-, and C+ to C. And the numbers came in. The poll is actually still open as we're taping this. But at the time I did the math, 77% A+, 21% A, 2% B. That's a 98.7 out of 100, basically a 99 out of 100 in A+. That means you thought it was the best premium live event or pay-per-view since we started this podcast. And Chris, I completely agree with that. Sunday has an argument to be the greatest WrestleMania night of all time. I think really the only competition is WrestleMania X7. And in totality, we'll come back to it. it has an argument to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time. So we've talked about night 2. I'll just remind everyone what our grades were for night 1. Post-show grades, it was an A- across the board. Myself, you, and the listeners. So Chris, what is your final grade for both nights of WrestleMania 40 in totality?
This is tough.
It is.
Now let me ask, what for you, what number out of 100 crosses into A+ territory?
So in school, at least in the state of Florida, the categories have always been 100 to 97 is an A+, 96 to 93 is an A, and then 92 to 90 is an A-.
I'm so torn here. I mean, the A+, A-.
What are you at between 97 and 96?
Pretty much.
Yeah, me too.
I think.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, like, night 2 was incredible. Again, I've not gone back and watched most of this. I've watched part of the main event of both of them.
And I was distracted while I was watching Building the Show. So neither of us have just sat down and be able to watch it in totality.
I'm hoping by this Tuesday's show, I will have watched the whole thing and can maybe give an updated grade. But I'm going to say in the moment, A+, which is what I was coming in. Greatest WrestleMania of all time? I'm not sure yet. I need to think about it. I need to update my rankings I did for The Athletic. But it's right up there. And when you think about all the different champions we got this weekend, including Cody Rhodes, some really great wrestling, were there enough moments? I got to go back and watch and think about that. But right now, in this moment, tentatively, I'll go with the A+ I predicted.
So my average of my 2-night grades is a 96. But if I was to construct this as a singular card and consider which matches were great, which matches were very good, poor, etc., the bottom is very thin and the top is very thick. Like most of this delivered or over-delivered to expectation. And so I'm going to switch it up one number. I'm going to say a 97 out of 100 and an A+. I might feel different when I get to watch the entire show, but I do think it's fair for it to be right on that border. If you're anywhere from like a 98 to like a 94, I think that's where your opinion of this show should sit. And I believe that's a fair one. It was among the best WrestleManias of all time. And I do think it has a legitimate argument against WrestleMania X7 to be the best of all time. I would need to rewatch X7. And you know what? Maybe not like this week, but maybe that's an exercise we should do on the podcast and say, let's go ahead and rewatch WrestleMania X7, because I don't know if my thoughts of it then would actually hold up today. Some of those matches from the Attitude Era, when you watch them back, you're like, man, this was kind of trash. You know what I mean?
Literally right before I left for Philadelphia, I rewatched X7. I just kind of put it on and fell asleep to it toward the end. It's tough. Like, there's a lot of crap on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just nothing. But it's like, oh, but like Kane and Big Show are in it, and they're like Hall of Famers, So like it's a show that you go, like, they're in a weird ass hardcore match with Raven, but it's like, again, they're Hall of Famers, and so you think about it, like, oh, it just adds to the levity. Is this a show 5-10 years from now that feels even bigger because all these people are in the Hall of Fame? That's what's to be determined. But you figure, like, Asuka's in there, AJ Styles probably in there, Bayley's in there, Becky's in there, Rhea's on her way,
Drew McIntyre
Cody,
will be a Hall of Famer.
Roman,
He's a Triple Crown winner and
McIntyre,
a world champion.
Rollins, like this
Damian Priest is who I meant, but Drew McIntyre will be as well. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like this may end up being a roster stacked with Hall of Famers that we don't know for 10 to 15 to 20 years. So in which case it could add to it even more.
Yeah.
I think again, my biggest question is I got to watch the broadcast. I watch a full thing. And X7 is weird to go back and watch because Chris Benoit's got a match on this show. It's really good. Let's hope nobody on this WWE roster ends up killing their kid and their.
Why even say? Why are we saying this? It's like 3 a.m.
It's 3 o'clock because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm loopy.
Okay, let's move past.
But also there's the Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon match, Shane McMahon match,
right?
Where Linda McMahon's in a coma and Vince McMahon is like taking advantage of Trish Stratus.
This is what I'm saying. This is exactly my point.
Knowing everything we have about Vince now, it's disgusting.
Even not knowing what we know about Vince now.
And yet,
that was on WrestleMania, you know?
And yet, when Linda McMahon stands up out of that chair, the Astrodome goes berserk.
Right.
It's weird, man, to go back and watch X7. But we'll think about it.
Yeah.
We'll continue to think about this.
So I mentioned that there's a ton I want to talk about from the press conferences. We're not going to do that tonight. I do have a couple notes from Triple H and then just a couple news items before we get out of here. Triple H, in his press conference, he put over Seth Rollins huge. He said he was the only person that he could choose to be the first world heavyweight champion, the only person who could legitimize the title. Like, that's a wow. He put over Drew McIntyre as well. He said Damian Priest stuck it up everyone's ass. Hey now. Those who complained about him not cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase before. He was immensely praiseworthy of Bayley too, saying all of the women ran to gorilla position to pop for her when she won the title. Paul called Reigns, if not the greatest of all time, one of them. He said he went through all the obstacles, he overcame them, and he's achieved some great things. He said Roman has changed the business, and that's facts, as we talked about earlier. Obviously, he praised Cody up and down. He got choked up and teary-eyed, saying that he felt Dusty in the moment. And then he gave this quote. He said, "It's not my era, it's our era." He was referring to everyone calling it the Triple H era, the Paul Levesque era, which, by the way, name it something else. Like, don't force that down our throats, but I digress.
They're really forcing
it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It needs its own name. But he said, it's everyone in WWE, people that endured, people that hung in, people that trusted, people that gave their sweat and tears to get to where we are, because somewhere along the way, they trusted the process that led them to remembering how much fun this is. And you know, Chris, I've been watching wrestling for 30 years or so, and it was great when I was a teenager. I got back into it when I was an adult, and it became a slog when they went to PG. Started podcasting about wrestling 6 or 7 years ago, and I remember almost forcing myself to look on the bright side, knowing that I was being force-fed shit, but I was allowing it to happen because, NXT Black and Gold existed, and Kofi Mania happened, and Becky Lynch was the man, and all these individual moments made continuing to watch WWE worthwhile. And what Triple H said here spoke to me, because it was my mantra, mine and my old podcast host, Brian Campbell: give Trips the book. It was obvious the success he was having in NXT and what could be possible on the main roster if he was given the ball and allowed to run with it. I never thought it would happen until, let's be honest, Vince McMahon was gone. Like, never could have guessed it would have transpired the way it did. But I'm one of those people who did stick around through all of this shit. And man, tonight almost felt like a thank you for my service, a reward for giving WWE 5 to 7 hours a week, 10 to 12 for major events, particularly for the last decade. Like, I got emotional about enough stuff tonight, so I'm not going to get emotional about this. But fuck, man, he was right. I'm not a WWE employee. I'm just someone who loves professional wrestling. And I trusted the process. More like I trusted the process would actually happen one day. And as we wrap up this show, it just feels fucking great right now to be someone and be a podcast that has been covering this wacky ass business and was allowed to get a night like we got on Sunday.
So when Triple H talked about the enduring and getting through it, I kind of took that as a lot of the employees who had to deal with a merger, for one, which led to a lot of layoffs, and two, dealing with all the Vince McMahon fallout and stuff like that.
But also working underneath him too for all those years, and his manicness and the crazy shit that he did.
Yeah. And they really, really hit us over the head with the new era stuff a lot.
All week.
Which at first I thought it was like, this is them trying to just move past Vince McMahon and to talk about how they're really not with him anymore and all that stuff. And that was a big part of it. But it also felt like they're like trying to brand the new era as well, where it went to that WWE thing where they just hit you with the head over it time and time again. And Triple H was pretty damn confident about what they've got coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, continuing to say, like, you think we're doing great stuff now, like, you have no idea. Hell, if you're going to top stuff like this, then I can't wait for it. It's Triple H, since he took over right before SummerSlam 2022, there was such a clear attention to detail and care for the product that we had not had in a long ass time.
Mm-hmm.
I spent about 12 years out of wrestling. I got out late in the invasion angle because I went into middle school and all my friends, my new friends, like didn't watch wrestling. They watched real sports. And so I kind of got into that and got out of wrestling. And then it was CM Punk versus The Rock that got me back in. And there was some good. The Daniel Bryan was great. And then a lot of shit after that, really up and down. And then a real lull period toward the right before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, obviously was a weird low. And we start this podcast around that time. And I still can't believe how much we went through of just bad shows, like uglies and bads up the board, and the good, bad, and the ugly, to the point now where we almost never have an ugly. We rarely ever have a bad. And when Triple H took over, we thought, look, the bar is so low. You just got to do things that make sense and it'll feel like it's amazing. It's a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's things like 10 years of Rollins Reigns paying off in the main event. Stories
not even paying off, continuing. Sorry to interrupt you.
Continuing, or just call back, and all these little things that they're treating the viewers with respect, and they're not pandering to try to be something mainstream celebrities and everybody else should accept. They have decided, as happened in the Attitude Era, we're going to put on a kick-ass show and you're going to want to come check out what we're doing.
Yep. And that's what happened.
And that's exactly what they've built. And people want to come to them now. And that's why business is through the roof. I don't know what this era is called. We didn't call it the Attitude Era when it was happening, although they did brand it.
It was branded.
WWF Attitude at the time. So I don't know what exactly is going to come out of all of this. I just know that over the last 2.5 years, Triple H took a pretty tough hand, turned it into something great, and now apparently has eyes on even more.
Yeah.
And that's a really exciting thing if you're a wrestling fan, that you have a company and somebody in charge who listens to the fans, respects what you have to say, and wants to put on a really cool show.
And they did deliver on that whole new era deal. Not just, they said it was starting, even though he had already had creative control for an extended period of time. They said the new era really does start this weekend. And it was a passing of the torch. You know, Cody Rhodes taking the title, so many title changes at this show. You know, in many ways, it felt like a series finale. I said this earlier. It felt like a series finale that was kicking off a spinoff of the same type of show at the same time. And like Monday on Raw, Chris, I have no idea what we're going to get. And that's really exciting because usually you're like, okay, Raw after WrestleMania, we'll get returns, we'll get this. This person will start feuding with this person. And like, sure, maybe Cody and Gunther could start feuding. That seems natural. And we could predict some other stuff. We're not going to. I'm just saying, I'm really anticipating what's coming next. And to be in that type of place as a wrestling fan is obviously a lot of fun. Couple more items before we get out of here. Like I said, we're going to save a lot for Tuesday and for this coming week. Stephanie McMahon made her first on-screen WWE appearance outside of the Hall of Fame. She did show up there on Friday in an ECW Kangol hat, which was awesome. But she made her first real appearance in a speaking role since stepping down as CEO. I will never not pop for Steph. She's goated in my eyes. She got a remixed entrance theme, which is actually really good. And she looked amazing. She opened WrestleMania. She reiterated on the mic, we just talked about this, that this is the Paul Levesque era, saying no one understands the game, my words, more than Triple H. They are clearly all in on that. Wouldn't be surprised if her showing up at Hall of Fame was like a soft launch to see what the reaction was. But it was so great that she got a massive pop. She got chants from the crowd, and she legitimately looked touched by it. And it really felt like an extended part of WrestleMania week was one way or another flipping the double bird to Vince McMahon. From multiple interviews to Paul Heyman's Hall of Fame speech to this how they hammered home professional wrestling and put Levesque over every single chance they got. It was really like a fuck you, Vince weekend on top of everything else.
It completely was. And that's, they've erased Vince from 2K video game, all this kind of stuff. Again, I asked The Rock about Vince McMahon on Saturday, which he didn't want to get into, didn't bite. And so when Stephanie comes out, I was like, oh, so they're not like running away from the McMahon name. It would be really easy to just not have Stephanie there and just do the Triple H thing and McMahon who.
Or start calling her Stephanie Levesque. I mean, you could do that.
That too. So like, I don't know. And so when she came out, I was like, okay, so they're not. I'm just saying it would have been very easy for the company to not have Stephanie McMahon back, because then you don't have to think about or talk about the McMahon name. Bringing her back is, like you said, a ballsy move for that reason. And it was reported, remember, that she and Triple H didn't want Vince back in the company.
They voted against him. Yeah.
Yeah, when he was trying to come back in and sell it and all that kind of stuff. And when Vince did come back, Stephanie resigned after she had come back after Vince left. So I don't know what the dynamics are between the family. We don't know. But having Stephanie come out today, call it the Paul Levesque era and all of this stuff that was very clearly like we're totally done with Vince McMahon thing was frankly something straight out of an early 2000s WWE storyline.
Yeah.
It
was awesome.
With the ECW Kangol and also fascinating. You want to talk about Succession like we used to?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And all that stuff. Shiv, Roy,
and Tom. Yeah.
I don't know, but wow. It was very surprising to see her. Worth noting, she is unnamed in that Janelle Grant lawsuit as just somebody who was aware of past Vince McMahon indiscretions. She's not alleged to have known of anything or specifics at all with this. Obviously, Triple H was not in the lawsuit either.
My thought on that, not to totally interrupt you, but my thought on that is they did their due diligence. TKO, WWE brass. They're not bringing her back out if they're concerned about that. Same with Triple H. They're not pushing him this hard if they're concerned about that.
That is my guess as well.
Yeah.
The Paul Levesque era, like that tells me they don't think there's skeletons in the closet that are going to come out.
Yeah.
Again, you don't know for sure, but they seem pretty confident that is not in there. Very much leaning into Triple H and now Stephanie as well.
Triple H also put over Stephanie for not only looking good, but feeling comfortable coming back to WWE, given how things have changed. It sounded like she may rejoin the company in some type of role. He also called her his wife. There was weird speculation about them having been divorced or something online. He said she's his wife. They hugged each other passionately backstage. He made a remark about, like, I have thoughts in my head about her right now, seeing the way she looked, and dude was horny.
She's got me saying, "Hey now!"
I mean, that's what it was. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Look, dude was horny on Maine in a press conference.
He was pretty much saying, "Hey, when we get back to the hotel, I'm banging my wife tonight." I mean, that's what he said. But it was cute, kind of, to see him like that and to see them happy together, and that was really, really cool. And I want to kind of wrap on this, and I know you didn't like her call on the Cody Rhodes thing. That's fine. I praised Samantha Irvin a few times earlier on today's show, and I gotta say, like, I know this is sacrilege. I know Howard Finkel is the GOAT. He's the voice of my childhood. Samantha's on track to surpass him, and she may have done it this weekend. She's one of a kind. She adds so much to the presentation. She's the perfect person in the perfect position for WWE at the perfect time, just like Fink was back in the day. It's 1A and 1B for me at this point, and I don't know that designation is going to last much longer. I did get the chance to text with her after the show. I'm not going to share everything that she said, but I will state that she told me she was flying high, and she deserves to feel that way coming out of WrestleMania. So I wanted to give her the flowers that she deserved. She helped make this show better than it would have been with someone else in her position, and she did it by a significant margin.
She's incredible. I put in our Athletic Live blog that it's her and Howard Finkel. Like, that's it. Those are the two
in history. Yeah,
clearly the two greatest ever. You can go back and forth on it for sure. Samantha's still pretty new to this, you know.
It's wild. I know
a lot of it. It's those big moments that define you, and she's put her own twist on a lot of stuff, and she's great.
And
so
by the way, I'm never not going to pop for the fact that we were her first ever media interview in WWE. She gave us all that time. You can go back and listen to it in the podcast feed, so don't forget to do that. But shout out to Samantha, shout out to Paul Levesque, shout out to Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and everyone else in WWE for what they did for WWE WrestleMania 40 on Sunday night. And on that note, allow me to remind you that if this is the first show that you're hearing from this weekend, we have WWE WrestleMania 40 instant analysis from night one and your NXT Stand and Deliver instant analysis podcast in the feed. Make sure you do not miss those. We're going to be back on Tuesday with our next WWE show covering the Raw after WrestleMania, the WWE Hall of Fame, probably the WrestleMania press conferences, and a lot of other extraneous stuff from the WrestleMania weekend. We will likely, I think at this point, I don't want to speak for Chris, try to fit in an additional WWE show this week. It's going to be difficult for me to get everything in Tuesday's show. I am about to jump in a car like 5 hours after I publish this show and drive all the way up to Augusta, Georgia from South Florida for the Masters. So to get all of that in Tuesday's show will be tough. We're going to try to do a couple episodes this week, do some special stuff for you guys. We appreciate all of you joining us on this WrestleMania ride. Of course, Chris having a great time himself in Philadelphia. On the way out, allow me to hit you with some reminders. First, that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, especially given it's WrestleMania week, head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Getting Overcast for episode drops, news, analysis, highlights, all of that good stuff. You can tweet and DM us questions and comments for the show. And of course, you can vote in the pre and post show polls just like we had all week. Please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You get bonus audio, instant reactions to the major shows, and exclusive news posts. And by the way, if you sign up for a year right now, that's going to take you all the way through WrestleMania 41. Again, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Thanks so much to Vintage Chris Vanini for joining me late on this now Monday morning as we wrapped up WWE WrestleMania 40. We have a ton of content still coming for you this week on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast for Vintage. This is the Silver King signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.